and that he'd rather go into a burning building than put out a car fire.
Yeah, that's fair. I can appreciate that.
Okay, I see Steve is here. So we have a quorum because Mike and you have come on. So. Steve Withers said that he doubted that he would join.
Hey, Steve.
We're live.
Live, okay, let's go ahead and get started. So thank you all for being here again, and we'll call this meeting to order at 5:30. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce somebody new to the table. That's Jeremy Stull. And Jeremy is joining us from the Brookline. It's Brookline, right, Jeremy? Make sure I was, yeah, Brookline School District. He's the new budget director. He's replacing Barry Lacasse, and he's also going to be taking over a lot of the capital projects that Gail, who is leaving us tomorrow, has been doing for the last basically 3 years. So, however, Gail, once Gail sends me her resume and a cover letter, I'm going to submit her resume and cover letter to the City Council for appointment to the Municipal Building Committee, which then will allow her to participate as a SBC member and continue on with the project. And
So you're not getting rid of me that quickly.
Yeah. Because,
that easily, I should say.
yeah, Gail lives in Attleboro, so she is eligible to be a member of the Municipal Building Commission as well as the SBC. So, Jeremy, do you want to tell people a little bit about your background, just really quick, just so people know who you are and where you're coming from? And
yeah, so hi, everybody. I saw a lot of you on the high school call this morning in the past couple of weeks. So, like the mayor said, I come from the budget department at the Public Schools of Brookline. Where I spent a few years, and I have a background in municipal bonds before that, and an MPA and some other public finance work. So I'm excited to join the team here in Attleboro. We, Mayor surrounded himself with a good leadership team, and lots of projects going on between the high school, what the heck state revenue is going to be for us going forward. And so it's been an interesting time to start a job, but I'm excited to join.
yeah. Thank you, Jeremy. And just to follow up on just a quick note, we talked about this morning, COVID-related matters concerning the high school. It looks like we probably are going to get those covered by FEMA. So costs that the high school project is incurring that we're not covered, and we should not expect to get reimbursement from MSBA. The city will have to pick those up, but the good news is we're likely to get reimbursement at least up to about 75% with FEMA. So with that, any questions about that or anything, or just jump into our agenda?
Just to follow up quickly, if we could, Mayor, if you remember, Consigli is tracking as a separate item month by month the COVID-related costs, and that's something that Steve Johnson has put on the thing. So we talked this morning about charging that to cleaning allowances that we have in the contract. So it won't increase the amount of money we spend, but it will, by tracking it separately, allow us to apply for reimbursement.
Cool, very good.
Yes.
Good. Thank you. Anybody else comment on that before we jump into the agenda? No? Very good.
Rob has a question.
Oh,
yeah, Mr. Mayor, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. FEMA may be able to reimburse at least 75% or up to 75%?
it's actually, I kind of misspoke. It's a 75% reimbursement is what we've been told. So it's not more than 75, not less than 75. It is 75% for COVID-related expenses. That's the idea. However, the state delegation is working on trying to make it so that we can get that other 25% covered by the state. I'm not too optimistic that's going to happen because we're begging them not to cut local aid or Chapter 70 funding. And those actually are a much bigger priority to me, Chapter 70 and local aid, because that's what's going to keep us from having furloughs or layoffs. But yeah, 75% is the number, though. I sort of misspoke when I said up to. It is 75%.
Thank you. I did have a few people reach out about COVID-related expenses and how that would be paid for by us and everything like that. something I planned to ask was, if, I don't know if Marianne or Steve would have been able to have answered this, but it may be a moot point now. Just what the timeline would be to give us as much flexibility with payments on the final bids down the road, just to kind of make sure that we're able to absorb any extra costs within the budget. But if FEMA is able to cover, and hopefully the state fills any gaps, that would be hugely helpful.
Rob, if I
Thank you.
can, what we understood from the phone call this morning was that first of all, it's in the budget, and we have cleaning costs in the budget allowances, and we're charging this to that area. But, and so it's not going to increase our $259 million number at all. But what it means is that we can submit for reimbursement by tracking it separately, and those would be funds that would come back to the city. So I think that right now it sounds like we have the best of both worlds in the sense that we have money built into the cleaning budget that'll cover it, and we can also apply to the feds to reimburse it. And I think the final point is it's not an MSBA reimbursable cost, but that doesn't matter at this point.
Right. Perfect. Thank you.
I mean, just as a point of contact, I believe it's Scott LaChance, the fire chief, who is going to be doing the application for reimbursement with FEMA, because he's the city's emergency management coordinator. Now I see Marianne has her hand raised. Yes.
Yes. Just for further clarification, even though what we've done is we have a $200,000 allowance that we're carrying for cleaning. We made an assessment that we might be spending probably about $8,000 a month over a 2-year period in case this goes on and is a prolonged occurrence here. But I didn't want to say that we carried anything more than the 200,000 because that is something that if it comes up, we may have to address it as a change order in the future. But so far, we've been able to work with the subcontractors so that if it looks like there's an interruption in the supply chain, we've been able to address that by finding substitute products in other places. So we're doing our best as a team to mitigate these costs, but we can't predict what may happen long-term once the building gets closed in, and if there is some predictable event that occurs in the future. But we're trying to mitigate what we can with the funds that are available right now.
Thank you, Marianne.
Call the roll to establish the quorum.
Yeah, before we go any further.
Oh, sure. That's right. I forgot that important point. Yes, call attendance. I forgot we have to do that with this. Gail, go ahead.
Andrew,
Present.
Jack,
Present.
Dave,
Present.
Jason,
Present.
Lori,
Present.
Jackie,
Present.
Jerry, Mike,
Present.
Andrew, Rob,
Present.
Ed,
Present.
Mark, Bill,
I'm here.
Terry,
Here, present.
Steve Withers, and Scott.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. I forgot we had to do the roll call different now with Zoom, so thank you for remembering that, Gail. So our first order of business is the approval of the minutes. Do we have any discussion about the minutes? No discussion. So we motion to vote on the minutes. Do you have a motion?
Jack?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Oh, we have to do a roll call again. That's right. Slightly different now. So let's go around the room for the roll call on the vote.
Mayor Haro,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
and is Jerry on? No.
No.
Mike,
Yes.
Andrew, Rob. Unmute Rob. Rob,
Yes, there it is.
thank you. Ed,
Right. Yes.
Mark. Bill,
Yes.
Terry,
Terry?
Terry, you there?
Yeah, I said yes.
Okay. Yep.
Sorry.
And Scott.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Yep.
Motion passes. So next are our bills and payments to approve the April 2020 invoices. I'm going to read through these and then we can discuss them at the end if anybody would like. But for Skanska, in the amount of $123,055. For Castle Booze, in the amount of $155,491. Consigli for Precon, it's $3,928. Consigli again, application 12, $3,479,477. And Briggs Engineering for $7,871. Do we have anybody that has any discussion, questions, comments about any of those bills or invoices?
I have this is Anjanette. I have one comment about the Consigli Precon bill. This was for some additional roof cuts that were required on the existing building for the abatement. And so we would like to request of the school building committee to use some funds we had available in pre-construction to cover this cost. So it would increase Consigli's pre-con budget from $325,770 to $329,698.
And then just so everyone knows, we had to make cuts in the roof of the current high school in order to see if any debris was left underneath that we would have to take into account in determining whether there was abatement of asbestos materials or other such things. And the good news is that we found it was very clean underneath. So it was money well spent to not have to carry that in the budget for removal, which means that when the project was done a number of years ago, and Skanska was our OPM, they did a very nice job of making sure that the contractor took away everything they were supposed to.
Now I have a question about that. Does that, I guess the lack of asbestos in the roof, does that change what we were already expecting to pay for our asbestos removal? Because I think it was an amount of about $700,000 we were going to pay for out of free cash, and maybe another $500,000 for the CTE equipment. It was a total of $1.2 million. Does that change that 1.2 million, or I should say the 700,000? It doesn't change anything. It's just money we don't have to spend that we might have had to. Okay, got it. Thanks. Thank you, Marianne. Very good.
Do a roll call vote to
Well,
approve
Jackie
invoices.
has to make a motion first.
Move to approve.
Second,
All right, Mayor Hero,
Yes.
Jack,
yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Terry. She say yes?
Terry, you might be still on mute. Looks like you're still on mute.
Oh, I hit it. I didn't
There
hit
you
it.
go.
I don't know. Yes,
Thank
sorry.
you.
Thank you.
Scott,
Yes.
thank you. All right.
Very good. Thank you, Gail. Okay, moving on to next order of business. Consigli, Steve, do you want to talk about the discussion of the exterior bricks?
Sure. And I think we might have mentioned this last month, but even if we didn't, due to the coronavirus, the Pennsylvania had shut down non-essential activities and that's where the brick for the project is being manufactured. And I think they're still shut down, but regardless, the manufacturer has chosen to mothball and close quite a few of their plants in Pennsylvania and not open them ever again. And they also decided that they aren't going to continue to manufacture the brick that was selected for the project. So 0 for 2 there. So we had to come up with an alternate plan. So there was, we went back to KBA. KBA came back with an alternate brick. And I believe it was one of the ones that was close to in the running. I'm going to try and share my screen to show, hopefully, if everyone can see that.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know Craig is on the line as well, and chime in, Craig, if I'm saying anything incorrect. But the brick on the right-hand side is the new selection, correct, Craig?
Sorry, I'm not seeing your screen, so I'm.
Steve?
Yes.
There's two,
Okay, now I see it. Yes, the one on the left is the field brick. That'll be the common brick that you see throughout the building. And then the one on the right is the darker brick that would be, for instance, at where the houses cantilever out, each of the 4 houses.
So Craig, Joe's speaking.
Yeah, Joe was muted.
Am I on mute again?
No,
Can
I
you
can
hear
hear
me
you now.
Anybody?
I can hear you, Joe.
Okay, my computer keeps jumping on and off. So did you hear the explanation?
No, all I
No,
saw
all
was
right.
your lips
So-
move.
There are 2 panels with brick in the background. Those are the original selections. The 2 straps, we call them, with the 4 stacks of bricks in the front are the replacement bricks. The brick on the left is the field brick that's on the majority of the building. The brick on the right, the darker brick, is the accent brick that is in the bump outs in certain places in the building. So you're comparing the big panel with the lower little strap.
Yep.
So they're kind of pretty good match.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I think it's appropriate if everybody's satisfied with what they've presented. And by the way, Jerry has joined the meeting, Gail, if you want to
Okay.
make that note. I think it's appropriate to make a motion.
Hi, guys.
To accept the substitute brick in accordance with what's been presented tonight.
So moved.
very good.
And I second it.
So Gail will do a roll call.
Discussion?
Oh,
Yeah, any
discussion?
discussion?
Just a quick question. Was there any cost difference between new brick, old brick?
No, same cost.
Perfect, thank you.
So I have a question with that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I mean, we're just being given a paint size sample here, instead of actually a full view of what it would look like on the new high school. This was a decision that took a lot of time to come up with the brick that we preferred. So I have a hard time voting on this, knowing that I'm only seeing, like I say, a little paint sample compared to what it actually would look like imposed on the facade of the high school. So I don't understand why we would vote on this until we could actually have an actual size image of what this actually looks like and how it contrasts against the other parts of the new high school.
Well, I know Craig can chime in too, but the,
We lost you, Joe.
no?
Now I can hear you.
Can hear you
Okay.
now.
The presentations and renderings that we did throughout the presentation to the committee showed the best representation of this brick that we could. The representation of the brick that was originally specified is the same as what we have for the proposed new. There is a mock-up that's being constructed with the new brick to validate the selection. It's approximately, I'm going to guess, 12 feet high, 10 feet wide, a couple of walls. Steve?
Well, Joe, I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way, shape, or form, but I don't see why that couldn't have been superimposed on the image of the new high school to give us a broader picture of what the contrast is going to be.
Cannot hear you,
Off
Joe.
again. I think keeps jumping off. It wasn't intended to match the existing building. It was intended to accent both these colors in contrast with the existing building. It's not intended to match the existing building.
The intent was to complement the other schools on the campus.
Yeah.
But not match them specifically and give the red brick identity of the high school to be its own. I can understand your concern, Mike, but we did our best to match the existing brick, as you can tell here. Even if we did, and just to be honest, if we tried to do a rendering or anything, it would look exactly the same because it would use the same colors and textures.
And thank you. I appreciate that. I think my only concern is that we have presented to the public what the exterior is going to look like around the building. I don't think that's a proper time to take a vote. I think we could actually superimpose that onto the plans of the building, let the public kind of look at it. I mean, it might be overwhelming to say with the rationale of the plants being closed that's fine to go with. But in my opinion only, I think it's enough change where we should actually put it out there to the public and just get a little input. I don't think a 2-week delay or a 1-week delay is going to impose the project that much. Again, that's just my opinion. I'm only one vote.
If I could address your comment, is that there is no change to the building. It's just picking a different manufacturer. And that's what we were doing, is trying to find a different manufacturer that could match what we already had. The look to the building will be no different to the point where when it's built, if we did 2 buildings side by side, one with each type of brick, you wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah, Mike,
Okay.
I think the point that as I understand it is that we matched it so closely that if they were to do another rendering, renderings aren't going to give you that close a duplication of the color. I mean, if you look at what we have here, the color looks awfully similar to me.
Jack, I appreciate that too, but I can say I've worked construction all my life. I mean, I can see the clearly different brick between the shades of them. So I just, we already told the public what we plan on putting up there. We put it out in a visual to them. I think it would be prudent to show them visually what it looks like with the different color, and I'm sure people would be fine with it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to anticipate what their feelings are. I'd rather put that out to the public, just so they're aware. No surprises. I mean, this is a big project. I don't think we should be surprising the public at all.
Yeah, Mike, just to be clear about something, the bricks on the left and the bricks on the right, what we were just told a moment ago is the bricks kind of in the background that have the mortar between them, the background bricks. Those are the original colors. The bricks in the foreground that are stacked 4 high, those are the replacements. So it's not like we're taking the bricks on the left and replacing them with the bricks on the right. That part was clear to you, right?
That's what I'm looking at. They're side by side. I mean, they're two totally different shades.
That's right.
I'm not saying that that's not acceptable, but
No, they're supposed to be 2 different shades. That was the point. It's the bricks on the left were the original bricks.
That's correct.
And then the bricks on the right are also the original bricks, but the manufacturer for those in the background, the manufacturers have changed. So now if we look to the bricks down below that are stacked 4 high, you can see that those bricks stacked 4 high match the bricks right above it. Just like on the right, the bricks 4 high match the bricks right above it. So we're actually comparing the left side to the left side and the right side to the right side. It's not a comparison of the left side to the right side. So the bricks in the foreground that are stacked 4 high are from a different manufacturer than the bricks in the background. But both bricks are still going to be used because the bricks, some of them were the main bricks, others were kind of bump outs on the building. But yeah, it's not a comparison of the left to the right. That's what I thought at first too. But then I think it was Craig that explained it. It's the bricks that are stacked 4 high that are what is right behind them. And
the new ones.
Yeah, exactly. So from my view, I don't really see much of a difference at all between the colors of the bricks that are stacked 4 high and what's in the back versus what's stacked 4 high on the right and what's in the back. That I don't see the difference. I can see maybe a slight texture difference, but the color is basically identical.
I have a question.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead, Jerry.
Are we voting on the brick change for the entire building or just for the mock-up wall?
Entire building, is it?
No, this would be to order it for the entire building.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
the colors have stayed the same. It's just a different manufacturer that we're looking at. That's all.
Right.
But the colors are the same colors.
Right. So Mike, did we answer your question?
Did that ease your concern, Mike? Because we're not getting rid of the bricks on the left and selecting the ones on the right. We're getting rid of the bricks in the background and selecting the ones in the foreground.
No, I thank you all for your explanation. I mean, my vote is going to be no, only because I'm looking at what I would call a paint swap. I'm only looking at 8 rows high of brick, 3 wide. And when you put that exterior on the whole side of a building that is 3 stories high, it's going to look different. I mean, I just think that could have been, take the new brick that we were able to get and impose that onto the visual picture that we're selling to the public, and just to let them know, just enough wide. I mean, I understand all the rationale. I'm not trying to be difficult about this, but my vote would be no, because I think I need to see the big picture on this.
So Craig and Joe, I think a moment ago you said that if you were to take the color is the same, but it was just a different manufacturer. So if we were to do what Mike was saying, it wouldn't change anything. Like the big renderings would look exactly the same. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Oh, Joe, you're on mute.
Especially being that far away in one of the renderings that we have that would be, sufficient to see the building. The difference would be indiscernible, and the colors being so close in the actual product, if we were to put them into the graphics of our computer system, it doesn't have the capability of showing that minor of a difference between the two. It wouldn't show up. I think the mock-up wall is really what's going to show if the colors are appropriate or not. But I don't know how else to do it besides having, as Mike said, a wall. And we can't build a wall 4 stories high and 100 feet wide to see what it looks like in the entire building. But we can show the graphics on the computer, and the graphics in the computer would probably not change from what we've already shown. So I'm not sure what else we can do to present that.
One thing I think that's worth stating, this is Mary Ann, is that this was not something that we looked at arbitrarily. It's not only did the plants close, they closed 4 of their plants, but they discontinued the brick, and we couldn't get it if we wanted to. They no longer are manufacturing that. So we were forced to go through a palette, so to speak, of other companies. The brick color is tied to the color of the clay in the particular area that it's made. And what we did in order to not delay the project, there was a thorough search to try and find as exact as possible match to what was previously selected. And this is what they came up with that worked for not only the color match, but the schedule that we had for the project, and without a cost impact to the project. So we sort of, we got 3 things to line up in presenting, this particular selection.
And my vote on this would be a yes, because I can't see a difference between the original brick in the background versus the new brick from a different manufacturer in the foreground. I don't see a difference in the color. I think it's the same color, the same shade, maybe a slightly different texture, but that's all I can identify with my eyes.
I agree with you.
Yeah, in all honesty, as the person that took that picture, my iPhone kind of brought out all the differences in the brick, but when you see them side by side, they are sitting in Consigli's trailer right now, if people wanted to see them in person. But we could say comfortably that it looks better than even in this picture of the match.
That's very good. We can.
To give people the opportunity to go see the bricks before voting
Yeah,
it, do it next month.
Yeah, I'm okay with not voting on this right now. I'd rather, everybody feel comfortable, and even if it's just one person, I want, everybody's vote matters, and I'd like everybody to feel comfortable. So, Mike, do you want to go to the Consigli trailer at some point on the site and take a look at the brick that Craig was just talking about?
Yeah, again, I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm not trying to be a skunk at a lawn party here, but it's just, to me, we put it out there that there was going to be one style. I mean, I think there is a difference. I'm looking at it myself, but I mean, that, again, Paul, I'm only one vote. I don't have any problem with you putting it up to vote. I would just be voting no.
Would someone give me the ability to share my screen? I have a picture of the brick. I've used this brick before that we're proposing.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Craig.
And while he's doing that, my question is there any change to the schedule if we don't approve it tonight?
That was another question, yeah. I don't know the answer to that.
Bill, I was going to chime in. We do not have the time to wait an entire month if we can't vote on it tonight. If we need a week for people to look at the physical samples in the trailer, I think we can do that, but we cannot wait a month because it's a big order. And we have to secure a spot in line at the manufacturer. We're not the only ones looking for brick. So a month could hurt us.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Joe, what are you showing us here? It looks like you're sharing your screen.
It's Craig.
Oh, Craig, right. I'm sorry, Craig. I meant Craig, yes.
Yeah, this is a school that I used. The new brick proposed is the one on the left in that original image. This is it installed on a building. This is actually Marshfield High School, if for reference, but you can see how the brick reads in a large wall, and it's very similar to what we showed in our renderings.
Do you have a picture of the rendering you could put up to, oh, go ahead.
No, I just actually sent Steve an email with the SBC presentation with all the renderings. Like literally 2 seconds ago, Steve. If you go to page 13 on it, it's got all of the renderings.
Okay, so I guess if you could zoom in a little bit and then click back and forth between the Marshfield High School and then this view of what Attleboro is going to look like. That's a nice looking school.
Sure is.
What's this little wimpy thing they got there? So I see you have the two tones on the bricks there is what it looks like. There's a darker tone on the left and a lighter one on the right. You know, if we're looking at the Bray Auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. That's pretty darn close.
Yeah, it looks awfully close to me.
In fact, it's even hard to tell which is a rendering and which is a picture. What?
Do you feel more comfortable, Mike?
Again, I'm only one vote. I guess a follow-up question would be, have they, now looking at the contrast between that and the other, have they secured the paving brick that for the walkways and stuff like that? So is that all going to be the same? Or are we going to be looking at a possible different scenario there too?
We're using different bricks. We're using actually pavers on the site, so they're not even red brick pavers.
I understand, but my question was, have they secured what they told us was going to be used for the paving bricks? Or is that possibly the manufacturer won't be able to manufacture them? Or so have we secured that part of it?
It's a different manufacturer.
Okay. Okay.
But
Again,
the question's still there for Steve. Do you know if
Yeah, no, I don't think they've placed an order yet. That's 2022 that they'd be in starting that install. So if they bought it now, it would be sitting, taking up space in a warehouse. So I don't think they've purchased it yet, Mike.
okay.
And this is honestly one of the rare instances where we've had the material that we cannot, that we can no longer purchase. We've been pretty fortunate. This is the only material we know of right now. And
I
this
think
is
the other
something
point that, go ahead, Steve.
sorry, Joe, we checked this on a project level and a national corporate level as well. And there are very few materials in this particular case. And as soon as something pops up that is associated with this project, we raise our hand, Mike. And this, so far, this is the only one.
I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the pavers aren't intended to match the brick. The pavers are a different material and a different treatment and color.
Correct.
So the fact that we can't get the one that we would want doesn't mean that it won't match the brick, because it wasn't intended to match the brick to begin with. But it is still obviously a concern by 2021 if we can still get the paver we want.
Yeah, these are all pavers in here, as you can see. They're not the red brick pavers.
Very good.
Steve, thank you very much for that explanation. I appreciate that.
I think we ought to take a vote. I don't think we can.
Yeah,
schedule another meeting in a week.
Yeah, I agree. I think pulling together another meeting next week would be a little bit challenging, but aside from that, we certainly can't wait the month as Steve just identified. So let's go. We had the motion, I believe.
Motion and a second, yeah.
Motion and a second. Okay, so let's do a roll call on that.
Mayor Hurrow,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
No.
Andrew, he's not here, Rob,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
and Scott.
Yes.
Okay, that's everyone.
Motion carries.
All right, motion carries. Yep, motion passes. So
You want Steve to take over the screen and show the construction progress?
yeah, exactly. The project update. Yeah. So Steve, you want to take it away from here again?
Yep, I'll try and get the drone photos. One second.
I'm passing it down for Paul's.
I don't have a pen. Can I borrow a pen? Should be COVID negative. Usually have one. Yeah. Asymptomatic carrier. Just
Nope.
Jack, thank you.
I'll have one more for you to sign tomorrow.
Okay, I'll be in.
Corey, are you able to grab the drone photos? Jack, I got smart. I brought reinforcements in just for this issue. So yeah, just overall, this is same view from the south, looking toward from the back of the school, from the football stadium, if you will. A lot of progress on steel and decking. The fourth floor, the 4-story section of the building, the academic section of the building, steel is pretty much complete at this point. We even have the roof steel for the screen wall on the right-hand side and left-hand side, buildings A and C. That is in place That'll eventually be metal panel screening that goes on that, and the large rooftop units will be inside there. But you can see that we have the brick walls up, the masonry walls for the first stair, which is good news. And they're on site. The masons continuing on site, moving to the next set of stairs to put that in place. We continue. We actually poured some of the concrete that goes on the roof. Most of the roof does not get concrete. It gets just the membrane roofing and insulation, but there are some large areas that get concrete. We did pour some of that, and we are pouring some of the fourth floor tomorrow, which is a big milestone for us. It's going to open up a lot of work once we're able to pour out the entire fourth floor slab. It just opens up some more work for our framers and then our mechanical trades as well. And then the rest of the site, we still have 2 cranes going. We probably have crane number 2 for another week. And then we'd always planned to go down to 1 crane. A lot of it basically just due to logistics, and we'll run out of room to be able to fit 2 large cranes like that. But we're far enough ahead on the schedule with the steel, or where we need to be, so that 1 crane can remain and keep up and get keep us on track. So that'll be a good milestone as well when you get to the point when there's only 1 crane. We're continuing with some underground MEPs in various locations. We're putting the fire protection loop around the exterior of the building as well in bits and pieces, so we don't cut off access. So whenever we don't have a lot of deliveries, we take another piece of that and install that. And then the other big news is just the work that progresses on the western field. You can see it starting to take some shape in the picture right now. We're basically down to what we call the bottom of the hole there. And then it'll start to get built back up with some specific material, different types of stone that will go under there. There's drainage that's still going in place. We put a lot of it in the Drummond Street area already. We have to make some connections into the field. So that work will continue. And then that large pile of loam, that the big lump on the kind of left-hand side of the western field there, that's getting trucked off site daily. That'll continue. And then the goal is that by right around July 4th of July, is the AstroTurf company will be on site to actually start that work. Next week, you'll start to see concrete curb going in around the western field to support fence posts and the athletic backstops and the like. And there's a curb that actually is used to anchor the entire AstroTurf system as well. So that work will start next week, as well as we'll finish grading, getting to the bottom of the hole and getting rid of that excess loam there. So a lot of good progress in and around the project. And I like to report this on Wednesdays as well, and report it here that we got a safe and healthy job site as well, knock on wood. So we want that to continue as well.
Steve, in terms of timing on the western fields, our turnover date is around the 15th of October, but are we looking at ways to try and move that up a month?
Yeah, so we're talking to the turf company about being able to give them, essentially, we think the best track might be to give them the entire field at once, and they might be able to put multiple crews on. And we think that the turf itself will be done in early September. But that would leave us with installing the backstops and the landscaping and those kind of things. So if need be, we could look at a section of the turf if it needed to be used. We're looking at that, but we're also just looking to expedite all the work at the end, or see if we can do some of the landscape or ball netting work simultaneously with the AstroTurf to improve the overall end date and get it up into, sometime in mid to late September, Jack.
Good. And then while we have this picture up, do you want to talk about the pump house, which I think is that blue structure over there?
Sure. So the existing pump house was mostly used for irrigation purposes. Some domestic water lines went in there and we used to feed the irrigation, which is no longer required since we're creating the AstroTurf field there. So the idea came up, what do we do with the pump house? Do we still need it? And we battled around a lot of different ideas with KBA and Skanska in the school. And the best idea that we came up with, the most economical, made the most sense, was to demo that existing pump house. And in its place, we would install a water fountain that would also have a bottle filler. And we would demo what you see there, the ugly white building, and there's an existing well just outside of that building as well, that we would fill that in with different materials and probably flowable fill. We'd demo the pump house, we'd pour a slab, we'd put a new water fountain with bottle filler, and we'd feed it from the new school. So what that would mean is we'd run a new line from the new school right where you can see over to where the new pad would be, and the meter would be in the new school. So we wouldn't be able to activate the bubbler until the school is activated, but it still gives us the cheapest method to get a water source out there. We looked at coming from different directions, and this one made the most sense economically. And then with this, we would have to cut and cap some of the existing water lines that are feeding it right now. But all in, the costs are going to fall in with the allowance that we had set aside, or pretty darn close to the allowance we had set aside for modifications specifically to the pump house. So there's not any additional cost to the project. It's money that we already set aside for this, and I think it's a good solution. It's going to clean it up. It's going to make it look nice and still give that water source for anyone that's using that field.
I think it's important to note that the whole purpose of this is to provide drinking water for the participants on the field, and that the current using a hose currently or a water bubble that comes out of some piping that's in that pump house is not feasible at the moment. And the pump house is actually in quite a bit of disrepair or would require quite a bit of modification to make it usable down the road. The well isn't a deep well. The well is actually a 13-foot deep, probably 2-foot diameter hole that would have to get filled in. So it doesn't sound as overpowering as filling in a deep well with flowable fill or whatever. So that's really just a groundwater well that fills up when the groundwater rises. So it's not that big of a deal to remove that and fill the hole.
I have a question for Steve, if he could.
Yep.
Yeah, Steve, is that Coltech system, is that inoperable till the fields are in place? Has that been sealed off or for the drainage?
Which system, Mike? I'm sorry.
The Coltech system.
The infiltration system. The infiltration system is active because it functions for other parts. That's not necessarily for the fields, Mike. That's for the roadway drainage and other things to mitigate the flow from the new road going over into the neighborhood over on Drummond Street.
Yeah, so if I can just jump in, that area that you see that looks like a concrete, it's got some, the cursor showing it, that was part of the stormwater management system for the entire site that the Conservation Commission approved and required for us to install. And so that was already installed before we decided we were able to go forward with the Western Fields. So all we've done is expose it. That's going to be covered over again.
Yep.
Yes, thank you for that. I just want to make sure that, the Coltech system, when you're doing active construction around it, just want to make sure you're not bringing additional sediment into that system and clogging the system up before it's, used for its operational use. That's all.
Just a quick question. Well, I had a question. I wanted to confirm that we're not talking about a nice park water feature when we say water fountain. And then a few people said bubbler, so I'm glad we confirmed that to be the case.
Yeah.
So is this something that would be open to the elements and available to the public 24 hours a day?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a frost-proof bubbler that's made to be outside that you'd see commonly in parks, made by major manufacturers that make water fountains, water coolers, and water bubblers. It's intended to be outside. The finishes are made to be durable and long lasting. It is frost-proof and has a valve that's 4 feet below grade and has a drainage system around it to drain the water out of it so that it doesn't ever freeze.
Perfect. Thank you.
One of the advantages that we heard about this morning was that the way it is now, there is a water meter in that building that has to be taken out every fall because otherwise it would freeze up because there's no heat in that building. And so one of the things we looked at in recommending this to the group was the fact that we did not have to insulate that current building or provide heat in it or keep the school department having to take the water meter out and drain the lines each year. So it seemed like the best solution to providing water without an additional burden on the schools.
Yep.
Steve, anything else you want to update us on?
No, just tomorrow with that slab pour on the 4th floor. It is one of the instances where we will be lining up concrete trucks on site a little earlier than normal. It's the instance that we discussed with the planning board and zoning board. They gave us the approval to do this work, and this is the first day where we're going to use that card and start a little early. It allows us with these slab pours. It takes a long time to pour and place the slab, and then it takes even longer to finish them. So, if we can start an hour earlier and physically start pumping concrete at 7 a.m., it makes a big difference on the back end. So that's starting tomorrow.
Okay. Do you have a change proposal log for us or any OALs you want to cover?
All the above, Jack. Yes.
Sorry, before we move on, I just wanted to ask the hour earlier, do you know if the neighbors have been notified about that earlier time yet? Okay,
yep.
Perfect.
Yep, it was part of the scheduled update that Gail sends out each week, Rob.
Perfect. Thank you.
And it's on the project Facebook page.
And I told my office, Kathy and Allison, if they get bombarded with calls at 8:30 in the morning, so they know what to tell people. So yeah, we tried to cover all the bases.
Yeah, so change requests. We have a change order that we'd like to vote to approve, and then I can go through the other changes, Jack, if that's okay.
Take it away.
So the change order number 10, there are several CRs associated with this that have gone through the process of being reviewed by Consigli, KBA, Skanska, and KBA's consultants, beat up, stripped down to the bare minimum, of course, in all instances. The first one, CR, I'll just read them off, and if people need me to explain anything about them, let me know. But I don't know that there's any surprises on here, anything that we haven't talked about previously. There might be 2 at the end, but they're actually credits. But I'll get to those. CR 66, which is BP number 4, additional concrete pan-filled stairs for $41,514 and 28 cents. CR 71, ASI 15 caulking revisions for $15,694 and 96 cents. CR 75, RFI 76 high canopy modifications, $8,657 and 37 cents. CR 082, PR 10 lighting control revisions at reception areas is a no cost change. That's just for record. CR 085, ASI 27R1 automotive roof edge height revisions, $10,723.58. CR 086, ASI 32 revised ceiling type at B4, room B411D. That's a credit of $3,218.26. CR 087, PR 16 miscellaneous VRF revisions. That is a $0 no cost change for record. CR 89, ASI 022 parapet framing revisions, $50,906.28. CR 90, ASI 26, area J and K roof edge framing revisions, $13,498.08. CR 96, PR 15, Student Center E115 layout revisions is a credit of $2,580.72. CR 100 is one of the new ones. RFI 174, delete HEPA filters at the fume hoods. The engineer looked at that and the architect and deemed they were not necessary. So that is a $10,512.52 credit. CR 102 is another new one. PR 21 ductwork revisions at room C406, $0 change. And another new one, CR 105, lab casework cam lock substitution, going to a different product, saved $10,306.39. So the all in total is $114,376.66.
None of this is new to us. This is all things that we've discussed at previous meetings, right, Steve?
Yes, just with the exception of the last three on the list there, two of which are credit and one is $0.
Okay, we like credits.
Yes.
So do we need a motion to approve change order number 10?
I think we do.
Move to approve.
Second.
Let's do a roll call.
Mayor Hero,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Ed, Bill,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
and Scott.
Yes.
Thank you.
So motion passes.
OALs.
Yep. Steve, do you want to talk about the OALs?
Yeah, do you want me to just run through the rest of the log just to see?
Oh, yeah, please.
Hear what's out there, what we're chasing? Okay. So we got through CR 95 and then 96 has we just talked about with change order number 10. Quick reminder about the log. If it's grayed out, it's either approved, voided, resolved, $0. Basically, we don't need to talk about it. If it has a number next to it, it's either been approved previously or we just approved it now. And then anything in the right-hand column where the dollars are that says EST is exactly an estimate right now. It means we don't have hard pricing from the subs and it's not been fully vetted. It's just kind of an order of magnitude based on our initial assessment or maybe some initial pricing. With that being said, we'll start at CR number 97 at the bottom of the page on the screen. It's added HSS header at building C. This is an additional relieving angle to support the brick above that particular detail. Structural engineer looked at that and determined that that was required. So we're getting final pricing on that. Next page, item 98, fiber revisions per AACS. We've added some additional outlets and connections, and then this includes a connection at the concession stand, which allows AACS to film the football and other activities at the stadium a little easier. So we're going through that cost. Item 99, VAV box and associated piping revisions. We reduced some piping in some instances, but then added some additional controls. It is somewhere between $0 and a credit. So right now we're working through that. 100 we talked about, 101's voided, 102 is part of change order 10. So skip down to 104. Boulder crushing and disposal. We did find a couple extra boulders out on site. So we're crushing those. We have unit rates for that. And we have quantities verified by Skanska on site for that. Item 106, added cleanouts. So the city had asked to provide some cleanouts for the sewer lines on the exterior of the building This allows them to come and snake the lines outside the building without having to walk into the school and disrupt the school in the event that there is an issue. So they asked for 4 of them to be added on the exterior of the building. CR 107 added Chase at C317. This came up in coordination. It just made sense to align, to help align the held data closets on the different floors and help align the risers to make the runs, lessen the runs of conduit. Item 108, sound attenuator revisions due to RTU curbs. So now that we know the exact rooftop units, the large units that are being used on the project and the associated curbs that they sit on, we are now trying to make everything fit. And there's sound attenuation that is required within the curbs. And in some instances, there's just physically not enough room to fit the unit, the curb, and the duct work. So we might have to move the attenuators out of the curb and into the actual duct work. And in other instances, we're going to go from one large sound attenuator to maybe 2 smaller ones. So we're working with the vendors, and there's some engineering that's involved. We're trying to mitigate costs as much as possible. We haven't heard 100% that there's going to be an added cost, but we want to be prepared in case there is on other projects. We've run into this, and there is a little bit of cost depending on the size of the attenuator. So we're not done yet with that one. We're still working through the coordination. So we're just setting aside some money just in case. And once we do know for sure, we'll get real pricing and vet it out with KBA and CES.
Steve, if I could, quick question back on number 100. I mean, the delete the HEPA filters, is that something that was a code change or just something that's not required anymore?
Craig, if you can speak to this, I don't think it was ever required per code. It's more of a nice to have feature, Mike. And based, I think, on the science that's actually going to be going on in there, I don't know that it's required.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a code thing. You can't. A lot of times you have them in the installed when it's not exhausting. Like we have the big exhaust fans on the roof, exhausting from these fume hoods, because we're exhausting to the atmosphere, and hopefully there's nothing. You're not working with COVID-19 in the fume hoods. That will be okay. It's just an added maintenance cost, etc. They're typically not provided in a school, a K-12 school.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
So that was it for CRs.
Very good.
OALs.
OALs, yes.
Yeah, we have 2 OALs we would like approval on, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
OAL number 40 is for window treatments. We got 3 prices for this. Vetted this out with KBA in Skanska. We are recommending Walker Specialties for the amount of $223,105, with a couple of allowances just for some coordination, and some of these are motorized shades. So we want to make sure that is coordinated. The total all in is $248,105, which is actually a savings of $57,000 based on the budget that we had for this. So we'd like approval to recommend an award to Walker Specialties for $223,105.
Move to approve.
Well, in order to avoid having to call the roll twice, could you put 42 on this as well?
Sure. Yep. So 42 is for the work associated with the photovoltaic carport that is on the south side of the new school. So it's a steel structure that has a foundation and footings, and then there's photovoltaic panels on top of the structure, and then cars will park under that structure. There are 2 subcontractors involved with this. One is Baja Carports, who is the basis of the design, the company that's in the specifications. So we'd like to award a portion of it to them for $289,767. And then the actual PV, furnish and install the photovoltaics itself, We'd like to award to Wayne J. Griffin for $492,258. And then we also have the costs for the footings, and there's some additional engineering, some painting and other items. So they're all in number $934,025. And this is a $128,000 savings based on our original budget. So good news on both fronts here.
Good.
Okay, and Steve, you said that OAL is not, 41 is not ready yet? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, so we're close. I think there's 4 scopes of work left for us to award. And 41, I believe, is wall protection. And we're working with KBA to make sure we've captured that scope. It's a complicated scope, pretty ornate not ornate, but there's a lot of wall covering in the auditorium. So we want to make sure we get that right. So we're close there. And then we have final cleaning, signage package, and then the miscellaneous equipment package. And then we are 100% bought out.
Which would then allow us to get next month to the guaranteed maximum price, correct?
That's the goal right now. There's a couple other things that are out there that we're chasing that we want to make sure we capture the cost for as well, but definitely those last 4 buyout items as well. So that's the goal right now, is next month we're at GMP.
Okay.
Very good. So do we have a new motion for to approve the owner authorization letters on OAL 40 and 42? Jackie?
So moved.
Second.
Very good. Gail, let's do a roll call.
Mayor Hero,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
and Scott.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The motion passes. We don't have anything else on our agenda. Is there any new business anybody would like to address or bring up?
If I could, a couple of things.
Sure.
One is that we covered this in our call this morning, but I think it's important to put this out there to the public. Steve, do you want to address the rat traps that we have and why they're there and why we don't have a rat problem?
Yep. So it's required to have the rodent protection, and we have them around the perimeter of the fence, both at the job site, right around where the new building is being done, and also down at the fence around the parking lot at Highland. So it's a preventative thing. Usually you get your most activity when we're disrupting the soil and excavating. We're basically taking down their homes, and they flee. So we have those set up, but it is a requirement that we have those throughout the course of construction. And we have a company, Waltham Pest Control, that comes and monitors them. I believe they come out at least once a month, possibly twice a month, but they're under contract to do that and check the traps and check for activity and bait them and log and make sure that there's not an issue.
And so far, we have not caught any, is that correct?
We have not seen any, caught any. Nope.
I haven't gotten any complaints, and that's the sort of thing somebody would complain about. So Mark Cooper, he hasn't mentioned anything to me. He's the ward counselor for that. So.
Right. One other thing that has come up that we'll probably be presenting next month, and I was hoping we could give a preview. Maybe Craig would be the right one. The ECMs, the reimbursements that we are going to get from National Grid and Columbia Gas. Do you want to give us a preview of that, Craig? Craig, are you there?
Craig, you're still on mute. No, Craig is still on mute.
I'm here. Sorry, I was dealing with a child. I missed that conversation.
Craig, we are going to be offered rebates or credits that will go to the city by National Grid and Columbia Gas. And I wanted to make sure that we gave the group a preview of what is coming because I think next month we'll probably be asked to vote on it.
Absolutely. So what we'll be doing, what it is what they call ECMs, and they're all parts of their different program. And energy control conservation measures is what ECM stands for. And everything's been digitally modeled based on all the data that we've given them from a design standpoint. And then as part of this process, the city would enter into an agreement based on that information. And we'd provide them all the submittals. They would do a field verification. And based on all of that, they would just confirm not the reimbursements, but the
Rebate.
It's a grant.
rebates for it. They have set based on the information they have from a design standpoint.
So just to further, as I understand it, because we're designing an energy efficient project, those utilities are willing to give us a grant of funds for having spent the money on putting in efficient electrical systems and efficient heating systems. Isn't that the bottom line?
That's correct. And then that value, it won't be finalized and determined until after, as part of an agreement, just like your project funding agreement with MSBA.
But we have seen a proposal from Columbia Gas to give us about $63,000. I have not seen the numbers yet from National Grid, but that is money that we do not have to share with the MSBA, that would go directly to the city for having designed an energy efficient project.
Correct.
Okay. Then the next thing on my list here is Anjanette. You have your update on the numbers that on your chart?
The budget
Yeah.
summary.
I do. I'm not sure if I can screen share. I'm going to try.
Looks good.
There it is.
Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay, so I actually can't see it on the screen that you guys are seeing, but I can see it on mine. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of explain what I did here that's different from last month's submission. All the values here are put together by bid packages as we procured them. What's different about the numbers here is that they include any change order that was written to that particular sub for that bid package. We're rolling all of the values into the GMP, and therefore all of the previously approved change orders 1 through 9, and also the change order 10 that you guys just approved, those values are already rolled into these numbers. And all of these numbers will transfer into the updated project funding agreement, which is the 3011. And that's, we're hoping to get that done by the next SBC meeting. So as I scroll down, these are all numbers that you guys have seen before, and the different packages are in blue that have already been bought out. And then we get down to just the second page here. And these are the 4 in red. These are the 4 contracts that Steve was talking about that have yet to be procured. We've broken out the values for the Western Fields for your reference as well. Those will also be rolled into the applicable cost code on the project funding agreement. It won't be broken out separately. And then just the miscellaneous project costs and allowances. Those are some of the numbers that we're tightening up right now. And so in totality, all the subcontract costs are $193,186,373. All of the CM markups, which include general conditions, general requirements, insurances, fees, that value is here at 29 million, a little over 29 million. The construction costs are right on budget at 223,088,312. All of the values down here have been carried throughout the project. Nothing's changed there. And then I did update the amount expended for all the items through today's meeting, and that includes the invoices that were just approved. So we have to date spent $51,416,937. Our balance to finish is $208,501,273. And that brings us right in on our budget. I did get an email from the MSBA today wondering about the status of the GMP, and I told them that we were waiting just one more month just so that we could capture everything appropriately. So that's it. Does anybody have any questions about any of the values here, or?
So the good news is that we're still at 259, 918, 210. We have not spent a penny over it at all with everything that we've done to date, correct?
That is correct.
And we got one other bit of good news. Yesterday, Gail and I happened to see Laura Gignac, the city treasurer, and the city went out and sold some bonds over the last few days, and the interest rate was less than 2%. I don't remember the exact number, so I don't want to say it publicly, but it was less than 2%. We had been projecting as much as 4.5% or 5% as the interest rate on the bonds. So good news for the taxpayers that the amount of interest that we're paying on the project has benefited by the financial turmoil that we're in. So that is the smallest of silver linings in a terrible thing, but it is a silver lining for the taxpayers of Attleboro.
I think it was 1.77, wasn't it?
It was something like that.
Yeah, so something of the magnitude of like 1.7 or 1.77%.
So, you know, that was 3% under what we had been projecting it to be. So that will save money over the course of the project.
Yeah. Just to put that into perspective, imagine the mortgage on your house is a 1.77% interest rate as opposed to a 4%. That's how excited we should be.
Yep.
Yeah. So we are. So
That's it.
those are all the things, Mr. Mayor, I've done. Other than perhaps you want to ask for a round of applause for our leaving person.
No, Gail is sticking around. She's going to get appointed to the Municipal Building Committee on the SBC. So
I'm not going anywhere.
Gail is just moving to or taking a new job in Cape Cod somewhere, a little more closely aligned with what she is really passionate about, which is actually education. So it'll be nice to keep her on this project. And yeah.
Good. All right.
Cool.
Thanks working with everyone. I'll see you soon.
Great working with you. Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Cool. Yeah. Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We have to do a roll call. Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
and Scott.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Cool. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.